Welcome, friends, to the Someone Gets Me podcast. I am your host, Dianne A, and I am so delighted that you're here. This podcast was created because I believe there is a visionary leader inside each one of us who is waiting to be seen. In each episode of Someone Gets Me, you will hear useful tips from successful visionaries who will share their stories about how being seen has allowed them to take their vision out into the world with action. ADHD and food noise, why your brain will not shut off around food. Hi, friends. Welcome to Someone Gets Me. And today's topic is neurodivergent related, of course, and gifted, but it also has to do with something that's a very common issue that not a lot of people talk about. Most people who call me and work with me are working on their emotional or spiritual health, or they're taking care of some corporate situation or relationships, things like that. Well, one of the things that almost always comes up somewhere in the conversation is food, is overeating and not wanting to at times, is eating the wrong things even when somebody doesn't want to. Or somebody will say, I've always struggled with food in different ways. And now that they're feeling better and things are working out for them, they notice it more. It's no longer down the list on things that they bring up to me. So I thought I would do an episode on food noise. Now, that means that you're thinking about food almost all the time. And it's not just, I wonder what's for dinner thinking. It's that incessant mental loop about it, about what to eat, when to eat, feeling shame for what you ate or didn't eat, or did you take your supplements, or what about this, and will that green drink help, and should I do this over here, and which plan do I follow? And so many people, myself included, have followed other people's plans, and they work for a while, but if you're neurodivergent, sometimes they don't stick. Sometimes they do. All right. So the food noise thing is a real issue, and it's a real issue for people with ADHD for several reasons. One is dopamine. Now, we all know, or if you haven't heard about it yet, it's everywhere, all over, that dopamine is a key factor in regulating your emotions, is regulating thinking and ADHD symptoms. Without the right amount of dopamine, our brain's not functioning properly, and we have all kinds of cascading situations happening. So food, chewing, raises dopamine. So when somebody is dopamine low, then they're going to start looking for things to chew in order to raise the dopamine. So gum is a really good idea, right? Or getting things that are crunchy. Like, I know sometimes at night, I'm not hungry, but I really want to crunch. That's a dopamine thing. So I have celery in my refrigerator. And sometimes I don't do so great and I don't eat the celery. I eat something else that's crunchy. And sometimes I really want cashews, and I'm like, those are high in magnesium. Well, magnesium deficiency is common in ADHD people, and that leads to high cortisol, which is a stress response that then also leads to food noise. So sometimes when I'm craving something that I know is high in magnesium, I make sure that I'm taking my full spectrum magnesium as much as I need to, or maybe even a little extra, because my body is craving a solution to the noise in my head that happens to be around food. Now, it's around food because that's what we know. The body is going to have a hard time telling you we need more magnesium unless you know how to pay attention to that, right? And so it'll start wanting you to eat things that will then fix the imbalance or the misalignment going on. Now, ADHD brains and gifted brains operate a bit differently than others. And so sometimes we're comparing ourselves to people around us, and it's not syncing. We can't compare. And so we think maybe there's something wrong with us. Really, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just a different model. It's like you got to drive it a little differently. It's like I just bought a hybrid car, and when it's in electric mode, it drives a little differently than my previous car that was not a hybrid. Now, neither car is wrong or bad, and they're different. So it's a yes and. So your way of functioning may not be the same as other people's, and that's okay. I know I watch myself when I'm around some of the people I know, and I love to have different textures in my food and different tastes. And there are some people that want everything bland and the same texture. My brain would not be satisfied with that. And I would keep having food noise to try to get that satisfaction. So I need to be aware that the food I eat for nutrition is satisfying on more levels than one, because that's how my body does it. So it's your responsibility to learn your body and how your body does it. And the cool thing is, we all do it a little bit differently, and we're all right. It's not about being right or wrong, right? You hear me say that all the time, but I hear people say, well, is this the right thing to do? Is this the wrong thing? Here's the better question. Is it working for you? I always ask myself, is what I'm about to do going to get me where I say I want to go? Is what's happening here serving me in a positive manner? That's what's important. Right or wrong is an old concept. The correct concept is it working for you? If it's not working for you, let's find something else. If you're doing something around food that's not working for you, go in the show notes, schedule a get to know you call with me. I will help you. First of all, because I understand it personally, but I also understand how your brain works. And sometimes an outside perspective will make all the difference in the world. And I'm happy to do that for you. And a get to know you call doesn't cost you anything except some of your time. And I'm happy to do whatever I can for you. But what matters is that you get a perspective that shows you that you are wired in a way that needs special nurturing and attention. And the moment you know the rules, you have all the power in the world to follow them and be successful and happy. And then food doesn't control you anymore, right? It's not that hard, but we keep comparing ourselves to other people in other situations. Now, in my life, I've had a lot of times where I've been burned out, maybe misaligned, dysregulated. I have a very sensitive emotional system. I'm highly intuitive, and it takes a lot of self-care behind the scenes in order to stay even a little bit grounded. So I can have a food noise issue. And there are times I remember, gosh, I don't know. I was in undergraduate school. So we would talk a long time ago, like in the late 70s. And I remember, I'm just now remembering this too. I was taking my finals or studying for my finals at the University of Florida. And I wanted to get a treat, so I could have something to munch on. Well, what I got was peanut M&Ms, which were then my favorite, like treat candy kind of thing. And I ate a whole big bag of those things. And I wondered why I gained all that weight. Now, fortunately, I was exercising and working out and the weight came right off. But the situation, now that I look back on it, is that's what I was doing. I was regulating my nervous system with something that was crunchy, that had all the taste that I wanted, because it had the salt of the peanuts and the sweet of the chocolate, and it was crunchy. So it took care of the dopamine that was necessary to keep me going while I was studying for my finals. Now, at the time, I did not understand any of the things I just said to you about why or how come. I did not understand the consequence of it. So I had to clean up the mess from that parade. So now I do understand it, and I pay very close attention to what I'm crunching on. For me, it's crunch. For other people, it's salt. It's different things. What is it for you? What is it that keeps your dopamine going? Now, there's also a part of food noise that's very important for us, especially in the chaotic times of our world, and that is emotional regulation. Emotional regulation is extremely important. Now, if you have an emotional overexcitability like I do, or you're highly intuitive, or you're an empath, or maybe you just feel things deeply and you don't realize it's a thing, it's just how you've always been. If you're the most sensitive person in your family or your friend group, right? You cry at the sentimental commercials on TV, or some movies you can't watch because they're too violent, or you can't watch other movies because you're going to cry too much, right? Like there's all kinds of ways to tell if you're emotionally sensitive. And especially you, but everyone can get emotionally dysregulated. If you're raised by parents who have high anxiety or are always that vibration, and you end up with an anxious kind of way of being until you learn that it's safe to settle. And so emotional regulation is a really important thing, because when we're dysregulated, we feel ungrounded, we feel kind of anxious, and things aren't working very well. And so we use food often. You've heard the phrase comfort food. We use food to ground ourselves and regulate ourselves. And in some cases, people use food to actually medicate. And so sugar follows the same pathways that cocaine does, right? And pastas and heavy food will downregulate the system and basically act like a depressant medication. So it's important to realize that we use food to regulate our emotions if we're not paying attention, or we don't have the skill set to regulate them without food. So I always like to remind myself, if I'm getting ready to eat something and I'm not regulated emotionally because either I'm upset or maybe I just did a meeting with a client that was very emotionally intense, and so it has affected me, or I have let information into my system that has dysregulated me somehow, then I know that if my body starts looking for food, that really what it wants is regulation. So the first step is to regulate my emotions, to do something grounding, whether it's go stand outside barefoot on Mother Earth, whether it's deep breathing or a form of meditation or something to ground myself. Again, if you need help learning how to ground yourself, schedule a get to know you call with me, because that's what I'm here for, to help guide you in the right direction. But if you don't schedule the call, you're not going to get the input. It's on you, right? So do that if you have any questions. Emotional regulation is very important. Just like with an ADHD brain, you can be using food to stimulate yourself. You also can be using food to down regulate or feel grounded. So now you see why food noise is such a big deal, because we are very busy. Now, we also live in a country, and if you're in the United States, it's not as bad in other countries as here, where a lot of the food is overly processed. It is depleted of nutrition, and there is a lot of cancer causing and other harmful substances in the food that we may not even know about. So some things you can do to help yourself get the nutrition you need is, first of all, check what you're eating. With the fewer amount of ingredients, the better. You could use different apps on the phone that tell you if the food has any harmful substances in it. You can take things and supplements that help get the glyphosate out of your system, or to help you clean out the toxins from a life of toxic food, basically. So food is meant to nourish us and heal us. It's not meant to make us sick. But yet in Western society, a lot of the food makes us sick. So maybe look at the food you're eating, or look at how you're eating. There's so many things around it that let you know that your brain is craving to be regulated. It's craving to be focused. It's craving to have the nutrition it needs. So if you have ADHD and you're not taking magnesium, or you're not eating a lot of magnesium rich foods, look there. Don't forget, omega-3s are critical if you have ADHD for your brain function. It's important for everybody. It's really important for you. Get it? We have to pay attention on multiple levels. Food noise is just not chatter about what's for dinner. Now, another part that I want you to pay attention to. So we got emotional regulation and we have our dopamine fix. But the other part around food that I'm hearing all the time, and I have felt it myself, is shame. And shame means I'm not good enough. I can't measure up. Very different than guilt. Guilt means I broke my own rule. So guilt would be if I say I'm not going to eat chocolate cake and then I eat chocolate cake, so I broke my rule. Shame is like, I should be able to control this. I should be able to do this differently. What's wrong with me? That's shame, believing there is something inherently wrong with you that is creating the problem. Well, see, let's flip that for a moment. If you're neurodivergent and ADHD, it's something that's right with you that the society has not taught you about yet that is creating the challenge. There is nothing wrong with you. Again, you have learned how to put food in your body and pay attention to food in a way that does not serve a neurodivergent ADHD brain. It is not because something's wrong with you. In fact, something is right with you. You are built with higher levels of intensity. That higher level of intensity that you are built with and the other people who are neurodivergent are built with is a difference that's a design difference and cross humanity in order to help elevate and bring humanity forward in whatever cool way. Well, we can't do that if we're always medicated with the wrong food or things are happening that are weird. So we want to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. So there's nothing wrong with you. This is not about control. This is about understanding your nervous system and understanding your nutritional needs and realizing that when food noise gets loud, there is a need in your system that wants to be heard. It is not a statement of your value or worth. When food noise, I'm saying it again, when food noise gets loud, it's something that your system needs in order to function well. It has nothing to do with your value or worth. So when you feel shame over your food situation, you're looking in the wrong neighborhood for the solution. The solution is either emotional regulation, a dopamine fix, or making sure you have the right levels of nutrition in your system. You may have to take your health into your own hands and order some of your, have people order you some of your own lab tests or use functional medicine or use complementary things. In my own health, I do things from lots of different angles because we are multidimensional. We are multifaceted. You're not going to be able to solve a challenge using your old thinking. Einstein said it, right? You can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created it. Yet I have clients every single week that say, I'm trying to solve the problem using the same thinking that created it. We can't do that. We have to understand what's causing the noise. So if we want to quiet the noise, we want to answer that call, whether it's regulation of our dopamine level or emotional regulation or a nutritional thing or an overarching combination of all of those things. It's much more complicated than just don't eat the cake. If it was that easy, we would have already done it, right? We wouldn't even be calling it food noise, right? Anyway, so those things are very important. Now, when you have high functioning people, let's talk about this for a minute because I think this is important. High functioning professionals, which I work with a lot of them. Most of my clients are high performing professional people, and they function at a very high pace. We think fast, we move fast, we solve problems fast, we do it. Well, what happens is you, high performing professional person, are very good at looking correct in public. So if you go out to dinner, a business dinner, you will eat in accordance with what's happening at the meal, right? You will be very regulated and controlled. Controlled is the operative word here, in public. And when it matters, in front of family or in front of friends or in front of whatever. So nobody out there really sees you have the difficulty with the out of control time, the noise in your head. They don't see it because you're very good at seeing what the environment is and regulating and controlling yourself to the environment. But then what happens is when you get alone, you do things with your food and the noise increases. You might overeat ice cream, or you might just go search out something that your body is craving to be regulated and grounded and have the dopamine and nutrition it needs that is outside of whatever that controlled environment was. That not only can create shame, but it also creates that inner disconnection of secrets. Because people will think you're one way and you secretly know you're a different way. And so on some level, you could start integrating that you are fragmented, right? Well, the truth is that food noise and ADHD brains will create that kind of scenario because it's a survival skill. It's a social skill, right? We don't want to eat differently than the people around us. But yet, if we're in a situation that we're dysregulated, or we're not taking care of our nutrition and we have a deficiency, or maybe our dopamine levels down because of the intensity of whatever that event was, then there's a part of us that's going to want to take care of it after the fact in private. Now, if you're doing those kinds of things, again, it is not something that's wrong with you. It means you need to learn some new skills and some new appreciation for how your system uniquely works. That's what I do with people all day long. I help the people who are in my sphere see things that they're doing from a perspective that serves them so that they can then choose if they want to make a change or not. Because, Carl Jung said it, and I think also Carl Rogers said it, things to the effect of, once you can appreciate where you are and be happy where you are, then and only then are you able to start making changes that you would desire moving forward. So first, we want to have awareness and embrace, this is where I'm stuck, or this is what I do. And then say, okay, well, what's the cause? What is happening? And then what is it that I want to do about it? If anything, just because you have an awareness of something doesn't mean you have to change it right now. You may want to, but it doesn't mean you have to. It means that when you have awareness, you have more authenticity, more sovereignty, more power, and more control over your own life. And that's what matters, is that you feel that agency and sovereignty over your world and what you're doing and how you are engaging with your life. The rest of it, it's extra. So food noise, you see, has lots of factors and lots of roles in a neurodivergent experience of the world, in our brain and in our bodies. So if you have any issues with this, you are not alone. There are many people that do. Many of my clients who seek me out for being stuck professionally or wanting to sort out what to do in their new retirement or all these different other things will eventually bring up food, because there's a dopamine situation. There's emotional regulation and feeling grounded and misalignment. There's nutritional factors and spiritual factors. There's how do we handle our food when we're in front of people and when we're not in front of people. All of those intermingle and create interesting scenarios to look at, become aware of, and decide what to do from there. So food noise in the ADHD brain is something to pay attention to and start to learn about so that you can feel happy and healthy and whole. If this episode has served you, please leave me a comment. And if you have any requests for any other topics, please leave me a comment. I will be happy to see what I can do to answer your request. And in the meantime, thank you for listening to Someone Gets Me. So keep your face to the sun so the shadows fall behind you, because you're a rock star. You're here on purpose with a mighty purpose. So go out there and let your light shine. And remember that you are beautiful, you are lovable, and you are capable. Until the next episode of Someone Gets Me, this is Dianne saying, be well.
Thank you for listening. I trust you gained some valuable inspiration and information. Please join me and other visionaries in the Someone Gets Me Facebook group. Or for more information on my services and additional episodes, visit someonegetsme.com. Again, thanks for listening.